Hey guys, my name's Sam and welcome to PrepMedic. This week's video, we're going through all the gear I have on me trail running in the backcountry of Colorado, and that roughly translates to lightweight equipment that I think is important in the middle of nowhere. About 2 years ago, on a whim, my wife and I decided to train for a trail marathon, the Catalina Trail Marathon out in California. Since then, I've done 2 road marathons, a couple half marathons. I've done a ultra 50K up in the mountains, and I'm training for a 50 miler in February down in Arizona, as well as another trail marathon in a month. With that, the training I'm doing has me running between 30 and 50 miles a week, and I try to do about half of those on trails kind of in the middle of nowhere in the mountains. I don't like running laps a bunch of different times. I don't like seeing the same terrain, so I try to pick trails that really take me into the middle of nowhere. And on some of my long runs where I'm going, 20 to 30 miles in one stretch, I pick trails that I'm not going to see many people on, which is great. However, it also means that I don't have a whole lot of options if something goes wrong, and I do need to carry some things with me to get me out of that bad situation, call for help, all of that stuff. So none of this gear that I'm carrying here is necessarily best practice. This is just stuff that I've deemed important. I'm sure there's people that will add or subtract depending on what their use case is. This has just been what I've been doing, and I thought it might be helpful for you guys to see what I'm using. So we're gonna go through the pack itself. I'll try to do the more interesting stuff first, then we'll go through the nutrition and kind of that boring stuff. So if you're not here for that, you can click off relatively quickly. As a running vest, which is kind of how I've decided to carry all of this, I've tried the belts even for shorter runs, and they just don't work well for me. I don't like how they jump around. So I'm using the ADV Skin 12-liter pack from Salomon, and this is kind of a good middle-of-the-road running pack. I can throw it on, cinch it up, and it's not going anywhere. It doesn't bounce around a whole lot, and I can carry everything I need. But it doesn't have a whole lot of extra space. If I really want to do fast packing overnight, this is not the pack for you. I will say one of the issues I have with it is up here, it's relatively rough fabric. And if I'm wearing a tank top or something that's not covering my neck, I can chafe right up here pretty badly. And I've never tried running in this without a shirt on. So who knows what that would be like. So I like this pack. It works well. It has a couple small issues though. For water, I am carrying 2 500 ml soft flasks from Salomon. They come with the vest, and honestly, I like them. The only issue is they do leak a little bit over time. So if you want to throw these in inside the pack, they don't work super well to stash more in the pack if you want to carry more water on you. Also in the winter, you have to buy their special winter flasks because these will freeze with water in them and get really crappy when you're trying to bite through ice to get at your water. Generally speaking, these 2 500 ml flasks are more than enough for me on runs. If I'm going more than 2 hours though, I will do one of 2 things. If I haven't run the trail before and I'm not familiar with it, or I haven't run it that season, unfamiliar with how much water's been falling, I will put a extra 1.5 liter bladder in the back of this pack because I like to be completely self-sustained. If I know the trail, I know there's water sources, I do have ways of purifying the water that I'll go through in the back of this pack. So that's just kind of my own personal preference. A lot of people would probably be comfortable just purifying as they go and saving the weight. I don't like it so much. Obviously, I'm not doing this on races just because I'm trying to save weight, but in training, I kind of look at it as hey, it's more resistance training, and then when I get to the race and I don't have this in there, it'll feel great running through the trail. So on the right zippered pocket here, I'm carrying a Garmin InReach Mini 2. These things are an absolute must. It is a little bit heavy, I suppose, but it's relatively small, and this thing is a lifesaver, literally. I have flown on people in my job out into the mountains and had lives saved because they had this device. So what this is this is a small GPS unit that can go anywhere with you. Its battery, I think, lasts somewhere between 7 and 10 days if you do the settings I have on it. And it has an SOS button right here. So if you need to be connected to search and rescue quickly, you can just hit that button and it's going to send an SOS out into the ether, and you're going to get a helicopter at your location relatively soon. This will also track my location and send my selected contacts, so my wife and my mother-in-law, it'll send them little pings as I hit waypoints or every 15 minutes, however I want to set it, so they know where I am at all times, and they also know that I'm safe. In addition to that, I can pair this to my phone and I can send either preset messages through this on its own without the phone, or I can actually text them from this. It's slow, it's clunky, you have to pay for that if you want to send more than like a couple messages a month, but it is well worth it. I can tell them, hey, I'm at the trailhead, hey, I'm coming home. Now that some of that might be unique for like the Rocky Mountains, because the second you step into the mountains, you lose all cell service. I don't care what carrier you have. Obviously, it doesn't apply quite as much to, like, say, the Midwest, where it's harder to find gaps in coverage, but an absolute must-have for the backwoods. This is a great device. One other small feature is I can scroll through and get updated weather for my location. So especially in some of these high elevation runs, I can tell that there's not going to be a thunderstorm that's going to strike me dead at the summit. So absolute must to carry one of these no matter what you're doing. Even if you're overlanding, have one of these on your dash. They're a lifesaver there. And then at the same time, I'm also carrying my phone because while this GPS is great, it's not a navigation tool. It has like a track back feature. I don't really like using it. A phone, people are going to scoff at it. You can download maps from like All Trails or anything. You can download all of your topo maps and it's going to keep track of you. Granted, this runs out of battery relatively soon after like a day or so, but for just ease of navigation for the day of the run, this keeps me on the trail. And then I also have the maps synced up. So generally speaking, if I'm running a trail that I know I'm going to go on this certain route, it will notify me if I'm off trail, which has saved my ass a couple different times when I think I'm on the right path. And in fact, I'm on a deer trail and about a mile away from what I'm supposed to do. And then obviously I can call with it. And like I said, pair it to this. In the electronics realm, I am still using the Garmin Tactix 7 watch. This thing is amazing. I wore this for my 50, it was like a 55K, ended up being like 34 miles in the mountains. I downloaded the course onto this. It was tracking me through a bunch of different GPS systems, had my heart rate the whole time, ambient temperature, altitude, all of that going. And from about 96% when I started the race, it was down to like 77% 8 hours later when I finished the race. So insane battery life, a lot of cool features. I reviewed this a while back. I'll leave a link to the video down below so you can take a look at it. Expensive watch, but well worth it. And I will take this over the Apple Watch Ultra any day of the week just because of its battery life and its kind of robustness that I think is a little bit better than the Apple Watch. Now, you can tell I'm wearing this all the time just by that watch tan. That's pretty brutal. But I don't care because, like I said, I'm wearing this literally all the time. And then, like I said, this has all the topo maps loaded onto it for the entire continental US. So I can have the routes downloaded on here. It also has a track back feature where I can like literally follow where I've run. So it's hard to get lost. Kind of three redundancies for location and navigation. Which is where I like to be because the best thing you can do in the backwoods is just not get lost in the first place. We'll talk about some of the nutrition in a little bit, but coming to the back of the pack. Now this has these two drawstrings on the side. I can put poles there. I don't really run with poles a whole lot just because my shoulders kind of get sore. I don't know. I just don't like it a whole lot. In here, I've got kind of my emergency pack. And some trail runners are going to have something like this. Some aren't. Some are going to put different things in it. This is just kind of what I've deemed important in here. So keep it in a plastic bag just to keep it all together and dry. I've got a triangular bandage, so it can be used as a bandana, something around my head. If there's a lot of dust, I can throw it around my face. But more importantly, orthopedic injuries, like it's a matter of time before I break my arm on a trail. The last trail run I did was like 22 miles and I ended up falling like 4 or 5 times, like flat on my face. Didn't hurt myself miraculously, but it's a matter of time before I break my arm or my clavicle. Easy way to make a sling. I don't have anything to make a splint per se, but I can find something to stabilize that if I absolutely have to, and then just holds it stable here and I can self-extricate out of the backwoods. Weighs literally nothing, just takes up a little bit of space. The next thing in here is a space blanket. This one's from PrepMedic's, so I actually have a link. You can go look for things from PrepMedic's down there. I like these little packs. Some of their big kits I'm not a huge fan of. But these packs they have are pretty cool. Now the space blanket can be a quick shelter if I need it. I can just wrap it around myself, keep warm. If squall comes in and I'm cold, it can be used for signaling. It's bright and reflective, so tons of different uses for this guy right here. I recommend everybody have one of these while you're going. Now it's not like the be all end all, right? You can get much better warming blankets than this, but this is kind of trying to find that balance between weight and functionality, and I think this one fits the bill. Next thing in here is I've got some Focus frog tape. This is essentially like medical or duct tape in here. It can be used for any number of things, repairing gear, keeping a hole closed on my shirt, or securing a splint or a bandage, something like that. So really light, doesn't take up any room. You can just use duct tape. You can like throw it around like a credit card or something and just wrap it up. It takes up very, very minimal room. And then second to last in here, I've got the Cheeto Sam. This is Chitosan gauze. It's a hemostatic agent. And I went with this instead of anything else because this is way lighter than anything else that I can find for wound packing and really quick bleeding control. Chances I'm going to need this, slim to none. But once again, doesn't weigh anything, doesn't take up a whole lot of space. So that's why I went with it, because like the quick clot and everything like that, it's too thick. So this way I can intervene if I need something. Things that I'm afraid of in the backwoods for injuries. I mean, number one, orthopedic injuries. Number two, getting bitten by a rattlesnake. I haven't seen one this year running, but come across a number of snakes. Gave me a heart attack the other week running, and you know, we fly on rattlesnake bites all the time on the trails that I run on. So it's definitely a possibility, and there can be some decent bleeding with those depending on your reaction to their venom. So got that. And then lastly in here, I just have a thing of iodine tablets. Now, some people like the Sawyer filters. I've got a couple of those for like backpacking and stuff. For running and like with these flasks that I've filled up, I don't really want to be like collecting in that bag, pushing it through the filter back into my flask. It's so much easier if I can just fill my flask up from a stream, throw an iodine tablet in it, and be done with it. These do come with like a neutralizing tablet. I don't mind the taste of the iodine personally, so I'll just throw an iodine tablet in and be done with it, wait a little bit, and go from there. And this just saves me from having to carry that bladder, and if I completely misjudge how much time it's going to take me to get out of the woods, this is a great option to have some water, and then I'm not dying of thirst in the middle of nowhere. Especially at altitude, it's really easy to get dehydrated. There, so other things back here, I've got just kind of an extra bar with some substantial carbs and calories into it. If I completely misjudge my normal nutrition and I just need something more substantial, get these. I like the Lar bars. They taste really good. I've got a baggie for Leave No Trace, and that goes along really well with some wet wipes. If you know, you know. If you don't know, count yourself lucky. There. And then lastly, I have a rain jacket, wind cheater, whatever you want to call it, from Solomon. Like it rips relatively easily. I already have a rip in the side, but I sealed it with some tape. It just is super lightweight. It's breathable. It's great for running. I use this in the winter with a layer underneath, even running in town, but keeps me dry. And then especially if we're like going up to a high peak or something like that, this just is really great to get out of the wind and warms me up quite a bit. I'm not usually carrying like an insulation layer. If I think I need that, I'll probably wear it going into it, and I can always throw it back here. I've got like a Nike I really like, but there's a bunch of different insulation layers I'm using. This is just the one thing that, even if it's a 100-degree day, I'm gonna bring a wind cheater just because things can change really quickly in the mountains. So lastly, let's go back to the front, and I kind of saved this for last because I'd say it's probably the most boring stuff, but nutrition. So I'm trying to eat something about every half hour or so. And I get sick of stuff really, really quickly. So I always have kind of a variety of simple carbs, things that are going to fuel me up. My favorite right now is this Roctane stuff, just because it has some amino acids in it and some other electrolytes. It also has a little bit of caffeine, like 35 milligrams, to keep me going. I got some without caffeine. that I like. And then for like the last like 5 miles where I just feel like death, I've got one that has 100 milligrams of caffeine and can kind of get me through that push. So definitely performance enhancing medications there. And then I've got some liquid ones for when I just don't want to eat anything. I'm just so tired. I can't gum down goose or a stroop waffle, anything like that. I can just get this, get some energy, and it feels like I'm drinking instead of, you know, trying to chew something and feeling nauseous the entire time. One survival thing this does have, and something I could add in here is better like signaling, but this does have a whistle that doesn't work very well. It's there as a requirement. It does make a high-pitched noise, but it's not, you know, your super loud emergency whistle there. The last two things we'll talk about, once again, kind of boring. Sunglasses. I forget what model these are. These are just Smith polarized sunglasses. I really like running with them. I kind of forget they're on there. And then for shoes, I'm using the Salomon S-Lab Ultra. Now, if you're hiking and you're not carrying a super big load and you don't have bad ankles, I'd highly recommend going with trail runners because they are so comfortable. They've got good tread, and then you're not like restricting your ankle movement while you're hiking. So I like these guys. These guys have a little bit under 200 miles on them right now, and they're holding together okay, I'd say. So you can see that there's some tread that's starting to chip on the bottom there. You can see some wear and tear on the side. Functionally, they're working great. They've got this little like sock that wraps your ankles there, and then the fast laces which go up into the tongue, which I absolutely love on all the Salomon shoes that I've worn. You can see on this one, like I took a divot out of the tread down there. It doesn't affect it at all, but kind of crappy that happened. And then these do have a solid sole, so I'm not feeling the rocks I'm running over. You know, I've tried a lot of different shoes. I really, really wanted to like Hoka's because so many people say great things about the Speed Goat. I tried them. It messed up my knee for a little while, and that might have just been a complete coincidence. But it's not something I'm going to risk again. So I like these guys. They're not too thin for my feet, fit well, and I've run a lot of miles. I'm thinking I'll probably get like 250 to 300 miles before I have to buy another one, which, you know, depending how much you're training, that can be a lot of money to spend on shoes. Like right now, I think I've had these for like maybe 2 months or so. So it kind of sucks. I'm going to have to go in and spend another $200 so soon after getting them. That is really all I'm carrying with me. Obviously, you know, I've got layers and all of that stuff. I hope this video is helpful, gives you some ideas. You know, if you want to tell me I'm stupid and I should or shouldn't be carrying something, leave them in the comments down below, and I will see you next week.